to Learn Life with You podcast. We're your host, Alberto Castillo, which is me. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for being here, listening to me talk and learn about life with you. On whichever platform you're on, it's always appreciated. For today's topic, I wanted to talk about every person that you meet is an opportunity or a lesson for growth. And what I mean by that is that every person you meet can be a lesson, whether it is learning how to better communicate with people, learning how to set boundaries, or even a lesson of forgiveness, gratitude, and kindness. And although sometimes I go really vague onto these lessons, I wanted to dive a little bit more deeper into my own experiences and my own stories and and what I actually mean by this and give you an example. So for today's podcast, let's dive a little bit more deeper into my personal life so that way you know what I mean of how every person that you meet can be an opportunity for growth. I mean, even recently, right? Last year, I have talked about my best friend, my Chinese best friend, and who I consider now my little brother. Him and I had a little bit of issues during the beginning. And I guess we could talk about that. I personally thought I was perfect at cross-cultural communication. But it wasn't until I met my Chinese little brother and my best friend Edwin that I learned that I needed to improve on it. Last year, he ended up moving into my apartment and became my roommate. And let it be known that for 9 years straight, I had not been living with anybody. I've been living on my own. So to have somebody come and live with me was definitely different, especially after being by myself and having my own space for 9 years. And what ended up happening is during the beginning, obviously, like we're best friends, and but when you live with somebody, it's a little bit different because you get to see everything, right? They get to see everything of you, your own personal space, and you get to see their own personal space. And I'll admit, we had a little bit of conflicts, right? Him and I would get into arguments because we would dislike some things that we would do. Like, for example, I'm not a very clean person. I'm a little bit more chaotic and messy, and he is more cleaner than I am and more organized. So you can imagine the rifts of going back and forth of me trying to become better and him trying to be more accepting of who I am and who he is as a person as well. And I mean, there would be a couple of different things that got a little bit personal that we did get into arguments. But in that living situation and by living with him, I ended up learning a lot more how to communicate better, especially in different cultures. Because also there was a lot of things that I disagreed about, the cultural differences that we had, as vice versa. He also disagreed with me as well. And we were able to learn about our differences and able to learn how to cope and still be best friends and how to still be brothers and be kind to each other. And that was hard in the beginning because again, I hadn't been living with somebody until for 9 years straight. Like I was alone. So having to live with somebody again um, taught me how to be more patient or how to be more kinder and more patient and be more accepting of different beliefs and different cultures and different ideas that are not my own. And to be fair, I mean, vice versa too. I'm pretty sure that he learned as well. We're gonna have a podcast episode in the upcoming week as well, um, which you'll get to meet a little bit more of him if you haven't already listened to our podcast already. And he's a great guy, but it it taught me that I needed to improve in the way that I accept different people and different situations, right? And so that was a lesson that I had to learn. And I also learned personally myself that I can sometimes be a little bit selfish and that I don't always reciprocate. And I can tell you another example too, in how another person that of mine that's in my life also taught me another lesson of how I and how I communicate. I have a coworker that's a close friend of mine. His name is Ant. And one time him and I, like, we're really good close friends. But at one point, I made him a little bit upset because I wasn't reciprocating communication. Um, I will always suggest things to him, and he would always check it out and give me feedback. But whenever he suggested things to me, I sometimes wouldn't check out the things that he would suggest to me, and then I wouldn't give him feedback. And I didn't know that. I honestly didn't catch myself doing that, but it also made me realize he had a really heart to heart conversation with me about reciprocation, right? That friendship, friendships and guidance are both ways, reciprocating, giving back and forth feedback. But I hadn't realized I wasn't giving that feedback until he had this conversation with me. And I had to really, really think about it and let go of my ego and actually realize that, you know what, it's he wasn't wrong, but that wasn't the only friendship that I had done that with. And I was looking back at everything from all my other friendships, and I learned that I could be a little bit better and I could improve in these type of feedbacks. And when people are sending things to me for me to check out, or when people are telling me things, I could give better feedback, right? And so it was a little bit of a hard lesson to learn, but it was good because that makes me a better person. And that's why I'm saying that people can be a lesson to you for growth. Another example is recently I had to let go of a couple toxic friends of mine who I considered friends. But at a certain point, you realize what energy is as you get older or as you start to mature, or maybe you are more mature than I am, right? Like last year, I learned that maybe I need to start letting go of people. I started moving up a lot more in my career and my personal life and developing more. And so when I told one of my friends back at home, I didn't really get the congratulations that I was expecting. And again, I shouldn't expect much from people, right? I'm learning how to let go of that expectation as well. But if this is supposedly your close friend and one of your best friends, you would expect that person to be more congratulatory and more happy for you. Instead, when I ended up having this conversation with this person, um, it wasn't as congratulatory. Yeah, there was a congrats, but you can tell the tonality of voice and the energy that was given wasn't really given as well. Um, and then the conversation that ended up happening was just like a 20-minute conversation where we really didn't dive into anything personal. And if I do decide to take the time to talk to you, especially across the world, I expect for that person to reciprocate, you know? Um, I don't really have a timeline on when to cut off the conversation unless it's naturally cuts off. But I've started learning that sometimes people don't give you that energy, and sometimes there is that jealousy or that enviness. And even as much as you wish that people that you love don't feel that way about you or whatever you're doing, it's not always the case, right? And so that was a learning lesson, and that's why I'm saying every person is a opportunity for growth and a lesson to be learned. And last but not least, the last one I want to talk about is learning patience from my students, right? I mean, I have more than 100 students. I have little human beings that I teach here in China. And let me tell you, every single one of them are their own personalities, their own thoughts, their own ideas, their own souls. So having to navigate the teaching career that I have right now, having to navigate the fact that I'm one of their mentors, one of their guides in this life, while also learning how to communicate with them. And it is hard, but it has taught me how to be more kinder, more compassionate, and more patient with them. Had I not learned how to teach with kids or how to actually deal with kids, I don't think I would be the kind person I am now. I mean, I've always been kind, but I don't think I would have been as compassionate that I am to human beings now if I wasn't put into this role as a teacher. And so every single day, I always have to practice patience with them, kindness and compassion, and honestly, love, because I love all these little kids. To be honest, they're all my friends. I see them as my little brothers and sisters. So I want the best for them. And so they teach me all the time. And sometimes they teach me how to be a better person, which again, isn't that what we all want at the end of the day? So if you're dealing with a difficult client, a difficult coworker, or a difficult friend, take the time to realize that that person that's in front of you is that opportunity for growth. And whatever you're learning, maybe it might be letting go of that toxic friendship, maybe it might be letting go of that toxic relationship. Many might be teaching you how to be more kinder, how to be more compassionate, how to be a better listener, how to be a better communicator, how to be a better spouse. Whatever that is for you, no matter who you are or whom you encounter, every person that you meet is an opportunity for growth. And with that said, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you guys next time. I love you guys. You are the best. Go crush it, you beautiful human being. Love you. Peace.